2011 Chevy Malibu LT. No front speakers. If you guys ever run into this, it's a pretty straightforward problem. Essentially, the speakers that come equipped with this vehicle and many of these GMs are just junk, to say the least. So I'm going to show you how to replace them with a relatively cheap replacement that will last longer than your originals. Now don't get me wrong, you can replace these with OEM replacements, however you'll end up with the same problem. First, we're going to have to get behind this cover. It's simple. I don't want to scratch it. However, this cover will pop right out. Just get behind it, pop it. This plastic cover will pop off, and you got a 10mm. Once you remove that 10mm retainer, come down here. Be a little cover. Let's get down in there with a little screwdriver or something. Remove that cover, and you'll have two T20 retaining bolts. Remove them next. Once those two retainers are removed, you can take and pull this up, out, and then you're going to take and unplug each one of these connectors. Pretty straightforward. Just push in, pull out. Once that's removed, you'll see you have two more T20 retainers. We're going to take and zip them out next. Next, you come to the side of the door. You'll have these plastic clips. Take and push the centers in. Get behind them and pull out. Next, with those plastic clips removed, take and pop out on the lower half of the door panel, and it will come unclipped. And then you pick up, pull out, and this top piece is retained in with the metal clip. You want to get your fingers behind there and pull that out with steady pressure as you're removing the door panel. Next, you'll come in here. You can leave this plugged in and gain access to the speaker, as you can see. It's locked here. Pull it this way. I think you got a lock on each side. I'm going to leave mine plugged in. However, you come down here and you got a 7mm retainer. Take and zip that out. Held in there a little bit with a metal clip, along with some sticky stuff from the insulation. Next, we're going to take and unplug it and remove this retainer, and remove the speaker from the vehicle. Next, take your ohm meter, set on ohms, just to verify that the speaker is bad, and ohm out these two conductors. If you don't have 4 ohms, if it's open, if it still says OL, open, that means the speaker's shot. You should have 4 ohms. This one is shot. Next, I'm going to take and remove this speaker from this plastic housing, because I want to save this retainer housing. I want to keep the original setup in the vehicle. However, this is part of the speaker. So I'm going to take and cut each one of these support tabs off of the speaker all the way around. However, don't cut off the electrical connection. Cut the wires down low, leave a little pigtail, but cut this up here. I'll show you as soon as I get mine cut. Okay, so now as you can see what I did here, I took and I cut each one of them support pieces, and then I left this electrical connection piece here with these two pigtails. Next, you take and you flip this over. If you can, try to save this piece of foam. It's not super critical. However, if you take and you peel it off slowly, you'll find that the tape will stay on it. It'll still remain sticky. However, if you have some Super 7 or something, just spray it on there and let it set up. Next, what I'll be installing, it's not quite a factory fit, but they're 5 1/4 4-way speakers, and this is the brand I'll be using. Just so it looks good, I'm going to take this speaker, put the right in so it faces the right direction. So I know this goes in the vehicle like this, and that screws on the top. So this is going to sit into this housing. Just like so. Next, I'll take and mark all 4 holes and run a starter bit through it, smaller than the screws that were supplied with the speakers. Okay, as you can see, I got all 4 starter holes drilled out. Now I'm going to just take and install the retaining screws and get them snug. Okay, in this next step, I'm going to solder my wires onto the speaker. However, if you don't have solder and flux and solder and iron and whatnot, you can simply just find yourself the correct female connections that slide over top of these 2 male connectors and crimp them to your set of wires and also crimp a barrel connector onto each pigtail. That's why I left that there just as a demonstration. You can simply do this whole job by using crimp connections. However, I'm going to solder. So I got my wires pushed through. I'm going to apply a little flux and solder them in place. Okay, hopefully you can see this here. I got my wires soldered on. Now you want to get your polarity correct. So what I found on this one, it's marked A and B on this connector housing. B is positive, A is negative. So plus to B, negative to A. Let that become tacky. Okay, I put this foam back around the outer perimeter. As you can see, it tacked up real well. Alright, let's reinstall it. Plug the speaker in, slid it into its bottom retainer, pushed it into its clip, installed the retainer, tightened up. Let's take and try out the speaker, make sure it works before we go any further. Okay, first hang the top portion of the door over top of the lip. Make sure your lock mechanism is up through the panel. Get that hanging down in, pop that in place. Now you can simply feel, make sure your retainers are lined up, and then push them in all the way around the perimeter. Now we're going to take and reinstall these two retainers and that one retainer. Okay, I got that 10mm retainer in, those two T20 retainers in and tight. Now I'm going to take and put that plastic cover back in and then reinstall the switches. Okay, that just pushes in and snaps. Okay, get all three plugs reinstalled. Then you'll notice you'll have this notch here on this retaining bracket. This groove here has to slide into that. However, first you gotta get your front to go in and seat like so. And then get that to slide into there. And you'll see your last two remaining retaining bolts, T20. Okay, once you get them in and tight, figure out which direction this goes. That just simply pushes down in there. Now with the last remaining retaining plastic pieces, take and push those centers out like that in the opposite direction. Put them in. Same thing up here. Put them in, push in.